Hello and welcome! I'm going to show you exactly how I got my Moon Psiop GM solo. So if you want to try it solo as well, or you're looking to find some tips and strats for this GM, stay tuned. I'm going to go over the strats first and then the loadouts. Bungie also brought out some patches recently, so this GM has been fixed with the platinum rewards, and you no longer have to complete the beginning part in a certain way. For the first encounter, I personally like to sit back and kill stuff with my Wish Ender, but with the recent patch, you can actually push up as far as you want. However, there is a way to not spawn in the Lucent Hive if you don't want him to. Basically, all you need to do is not pass the structure. When you do pass the structure, it will spawn in the Lucent Hive Titan. So that is completely your choice. Then, whenever you see the ship show up, you can actually shoot the ship's turrets and destroy them. That way you don't have to worry about getting killed from the purple shots. Do be careful though, the ship has turrets on the other side, and when getting too close, they could curve around the ship and towards you. For this entire encounter, you will get 4 barriers and 4 unstops that you need to kill to proceed. Once you have the Lucent Hive and all champions down, you can proceed and make the rest of the enemies despawn. On the cliff, these used to be barriers before the patch, but Bungie has now changed it to regular night, so unless you need or want to kill them, you can just skip them if you wanted to. Moving on to the crystal room, there are a few different strats to do this. I personally like to stay in the middle hallway for safety and peek out the middle whenever I can. Others like to push all the way to the opposite side behind that middle fountain or on that far bridge and hide there. And I have even seen some push to the left or right side and hide behind the fountains as well. The objective of this encounter is to kill a wizard who drops a little mote called Burden of Tribute. Picking up that tribute, you can deposit it in the fountain and destroy a crystal. You will have to destroy all 12 crystals in a room to proceed. However, certain adds will despawn depending on the amount of crystals that have been destroyed. When depositing the first tribute, destroying 1 crystal, you will get 2 champions, a barrier, and an unstop. Depositing the next 3 tributes, or a total of 4, will spawn a Shrieker in the middle as well as 2 Lucent Hive Hunters. Depositing another 4 tributes will spawn in another Shrieker and 2 champions. And when depositing and destroying the last 4 crystals, it will despawn most of the adds, but not all of them, so definitely be careful. Going back to the beginning of this encounter, when picking up the very first tribute, you can kill all the other enemies around the area. That way you don't have to deal with them when running back to your safe spot after depositing. If you are doing a strat at the middle, sometimes the champions like to push up on that middle bridge, which gives you a good view of them. But other times, you have to go out and push them. When it comes to the Lucent Hive Hunters, you don't need to kill them since they don't count towards platinum, so that is completely your choice. And when you're done with this, don't forget the ammo box by the middle fountain. Proceed to the next area, and when you do, be careful when jumping down here. There are some rockets being blasted on the ground. On the bridge there are 2 unstopped champions. A fun fact of unstoppables: when they see you after they are no longer stunned, they will run after you. But if you hide before they see you, they don't know where you're at, which means they won't push you. Definitely use that as your advantage. After the 2 champions, you will have to push up to the portal to make the next ad spawn. Now if you run back up to the beginning of the bridge, a Shrieker spawns. And when you kill it, it will respawn within 10 seconds again, and then again, and again. So the safest spot on this bridge is at the halfway point, here by the 2 tallest pillars on the side. The Shriekers will not shoot at you, and the boss will not shoot at you either. However, the 2 small wizards and the adds will see you and can shoot you, which means that you'll want to kill those as quick as you can. Be careful with the moths as well. They will push and explode on you. Once the adds are gone, you can focus on the boss. The boss is a Lucent Hive Warlock, so it can shoot arc shots, throw grenades, and pop a healing rift. But don't worry, your guns do more damage than the healing does to the boss. Feel free to use your super as well, because you'll get it back in the boss room. In the boss room, I will walk you through every step that I can. When I start the encounter, I like to jump to the red side. Again, the boss can throw Nova Bombs when too close, arc shots when far away, pops healing rifts, and it even throws grenades which one-shot just like the ones in Lightblade. I am actually unsure on what makes the boss throw the nade, but if you do, feel free to let me know. There are a bunch of adds as well that spawn, and there is a slight chance that a few push up on you. The adds here do keep respawning, so I take turns on killing some adds and doing some damage. For now, the boss chills in that middle area, but that will change later on and I'll point out when it does. After you've sent the boss away, you will get a clone of Savathun. Savathun does 3 different attacks. She does the floor electricity, which one-shots, shoots arc shots, and can also shoot Nova Bombs. She also likes to teleport, and when she does, don't worry, it will be very noticeable because she zooms into the sky. Savathun also likes to push up a lot, but that doesn't happen until you've started to do some damage to her. The only way to damage her is to use the spears that spawn in the room. For now, there's only one that spawns, which is in the middle of the room. Also, for this part, there are 2 champions that spawn, 1 barrier, 1 unstop, and they're going to be the only ones that spawn in the entire boss encounter. I personally like to stand here to kill the champions, but keep an eye on Savathun as well, because she can also see you sometimes, and when she does, she starts shooting at you. Not only are there champions, but also ads as well. The ads usually respawn after a certain amount of time, but once you've killed the champions, you can either use Invis, and if you don't have Invis, you definitely want to make sure all the ads are currently gone, because you'll be running out in the middle of the room. Make sure to watch the attacks of the boss. As soon as she finishes her floor attack with the electricity, you can invis or run out in the middle to grab a spear. Remember, when you grab a spear, you actually have different types of attacks. You can shoot the spear at Savathun to do some damage, but you can also, for example, use your grenade button and you can actually zoom in front of you, which helps getting out of the way from ads or the boss's shots. The spot that I like to stand at, I can use the 2 fences next to me for cover when needed. Her floor electricity attack will not reach me, making it safe. The left side or red side has 2 rooms you can stand in. These rooms are safe spots because she cannot shoot in them. However, as rare as it is, I have been killed inside the room from her floor electricity attack multiple times, which makes it safe, but also not. So I repeat the same pattern, which is killing ads, waiting for the floor attack, grabbing the spear, running back to the safe spot, and shooting at Savathun. Second phase is a bit different. Pay attention to the left and right side. You will see a ship spawning in on one of the sides, and whichever side has the ship will be the side you don't want to be on. Move to whichever side you have to, because instead of the boss being in the middle, the boss will now be on the same side as the ship with the ads are going to be on. For this part, you can just focus on damaging the boss until the middle bar is gone. After you have pushed the boss away, you will now get 2 clones of Savathun, 1 left and 1 right. Same thing as earlier, they will not push you until you've done some damage to them. The same thing with the spears. There will now be 2 places for the spears to spawn in. There's going to be one on the left side and one on the right side. For this part, you are also going to get an ogre that spawns in the middle as well as ads on either left or right side. Again, I personally like to jump back to the middle platform and use the fences for as much cover as I need. The ogre is my #1 priority because his shots hurt a ton. Then I take out all the other ads I see and move on. There are 2 different ways to do this encounter to make it feel easier. First, you can either do what I am doing here, which is grabbing the spear on the right side, going back to the middle safe spot, and throwing spears to the left Savathun. This is a good strat as the right Savathun will not see you. However, after doing some damage to left Savathun, remember she will now start moving closer to you. And then I basically repeat that pattern, go to the right for a spear, back to middle, and shoot left Savathun. The other strat you can do is grab the right spear, and instead of going to the middle, you will actually jump up 1 floor and move here to stand behind the structure so that the right Savathun doesn't see you. And then you can slay out with throwing the spears to the left Savathun, which makes the spot a bit safer because the left Savathun doesn't really push up. And then you can just repeat the pattern, but always make sure that the Savathun on the right does not see you. Once you have the left Savathun down, you can move to the red side and grab the spear over there to kill the last remaining Savathun. Just be careful, there might be some ads left over on the left side. After you have the Savathuns down, keep watch on another ship spawning in. For me, it was on the side that I was at, so I moved to the right side to be away from the ads. Just like earlier, the boss will join the same side as the ads and hang out with them. Here you can focus on the boss damage and ad clear if you wanted to. The ads do respawn at some point though. Really important to know is that when you kill the boss, you have to run to the other side and make sure to do a finisher on her ghost as well, or else she will respawn with some health again. And yes, you have plenty of time to run from the opposite side to kill her ghost. And when you do, it's a GG. Moving on to loadouts, this Grandmaster is a tough one, so I don't have that many loadouts this time, but my number one loadout I recommend anyone to use is Invis Hunter. I will provide a loadout on each character, but Invis Hunter is my number one recommendation for you to use. So the Invis Hunter build that I used is with Graviton Forfeit. I prefer Graviton Forfeit over the other exotics because it increases the duration of Invis by 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a big difference. You will also get faster melee recharge, faster reload, and more recovery all while you're Invis. You could also use Omni if you prefer that, which gives you a second smoke bomb and gives extra resistance while Invis. And if you do use Omni, you'll want to pair it with Gambler's Dodge to get your dodge back when dodging near enemies. But this makes you rely on being near enemies to get your dodge back, which is why I prefer the helmet. For my build, I use Mobius Super, Marksman Dodge for faster dodge cooldown, Jump of Preference, Smoke Bomb, and Vortex Grenade. Moving over to aspects, I use Vanishing Step to Invis when I dodge, and Trapper's Ambush to use Quick Fall to activate Invis through my Smoke Bomb. For fragments, I use Obscurity to go Invis when doing a finisher, Persistence to have a longer duration to Invis, Overshield, and Devour, Undermining so my nades weaken enemies, and Starvation. Whenever I pick up an orb or Void Breach, I will get Devour, which means it will give me healing. In the artifact, you want to use anything that helps with Void, which isn't a lot to choose from, so here are mine. And here are also all my mods that I use. I try to have mods that help me with orbs, because Devour is cracked. I also try to have mods to help me recharge my smoke nade and my dodge back quicker. For example, siphons for orbs, bolstering detonation for ability energy, outreach for faster melee cooldowns, and so on. For stats, I highly recommend 100 resilience, and then you want to focus on mobility for dodge cooldown and strength for smoke bomb cooldown. I try to have both of those numbers to be close to each other. Next, we have Warlocks. If you are running a Warlock, I recommend Arc with all the awesome artifact mods to choose from. For exotic armor pieces, I recommend Vesper of Radius, which makes your rift send out arc shockwaves and potentially create an explosion when killing adds with it. The shockwave also blinds nearby adds, and your rift recharges quicker when adds are nearby. This exotic is very useful when you're trying to be aggressive. Another exotic piece I would use is Fallen Sunstar. This makes your ionic traces move faster and give extra ability energy. With these armor pieces, I run Chaos Reach, Healing Rift, Jump of Preference, Chain Lightning, and Pulse Grenade. For aspects, I use Arc Soul to give you your arc buddies, and while you're amplified, your arc souls gain increased fire rate. The second aspect I use is Electrostatic Mind, which gives me ionic traces when killing adds with arc abilities, jolted, or blinded, and when getting ionic traces, you get amplified. Moving on to fragments, I use Shock so that my nades jolt targets, Resistance, which gives me more resistance when near enemies, Vaults to become amplified on finishers. This one I mainly use for the recovery, but instead of this one, you can also use Ions, which gives you Ionic Trace when killing a jolted target, and the Ionic Traces give you ability energy. And lastly, Amplitude. While amplified, rapidly killing adds creates an orb of power. For artifact, I use all the arc ones I can choose from, and for my mods, this is what I used. Anything to help me gain my abilities back quicker. For stats, I recommend 100 resilience, and then discipline for grenade recharge, and recovery for rift recharge. Lastly, we have Titan. If you're looking to going in with your Titan, I recommend Strand. A lot of enemies push in this GM, having Strand to suspend comes in clutch. For Strand, I recommend using the Abiant Leap Boots, which sends out 2 additional projectiles when popping your barrier shield, and you gain Woven Mail when suspending enemies. With this, I use Blade Fury, Rally Barricade, Jump of Preference, Frenzied Blade, and Shackle Grenade. The aspects I use are Into the Fray to gain increased melee recharge when having Woven Mail, and Dranger's Lash to activate the suspending projectiles when using your barrier to suspend enemies. These are the fragments that I use. Mind, which gives you class ability energy when killing a suspended ad. Warding gives you Woven Mail when picking up an orb. Generation, dealing damage gives grenade energy. And Continuity, which gives an increased duration of suspend, unravel, and sever. In your artifact, you'll want to choose anything that helps with Strand. There is a few mods in there that help you with Strand weapons, so that depends on if you're using any Strand weapons or not. For mods, you definitely want to have something to make orbs like Siphons on helmet or Reaper on class items, so you can get Woven Mail. Other than that, you can use mods that give you abilities back quicker for more suspend. For stats, I recommend 100 resilience, then discipline for your grenade, and strength for your melee. There could definitely be more loadouts out there that are useful, but these are the ones that I recommend. I hope the guide and the loadouts will help you with your solo or fire team run. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you have any feedback on these guides, do let me know as I'm still fairly new. But I'll see you in the next week for the next GM guide.